Today I'm going to show you how I like to mash in my B80 Pro. I'm doing a 40-liter batch today with 10 kilos of grain. I'm using the Grainfather grain mill on setting 5. This puts me at 1.3 to their spec, and I think a lot closer to 1.2 than the 1.1 setting would be. And I think it's working out pretty well for me thus far. Now that I've reached my strike temperature, I'm going to dial back the heaters to my desired mash temperature and just use this time to add any water, less salt additions, or in this instance I'm going to add some lactic acid to bring down the mash pH. You want to make sure you always have flow going around the basket to prevent burned elements. I generally try not to rush the mashing in process and like to just add 2 to 3 scoops at a time and really get it mixed in well. I want to make sure there's no dough balls or anything there that's not coming in contact with the water. Here and there I'll also throw in a handful or two of rice hulls depending on how thick the mash is going to be. After fully mashing in, I got pretty close to my mash temperature. So I'm going to switch it to mash mode and let the tank sensor control the heating elements from here. And I'm going to set a 20-minute timer for the mash rest. So now after the rest, it seems all of our temperatures have evened out for the most part. And now I'm going to actually give this mash a good stir. This is going to be a raw beer, so I'm not going to boil, so I really want to make sure all the sugars I can get knocked loose, or maybe I missed a dough ball in there somewhere. I just want to make sure it's really well incorporated at this stage in the process. I don't always stir here, but today I'm going to. So after stirring, I'm going to add the recirculation manifold so I can recirculate the wort from outside the basket into the basket and continue to recirculate around the elements to avoid any scorching or burning of those elements. I pull the malt pipe out a little bit and I kind of just pick a place for it to go. I want it to go into the mash in the beginning slightly. The grain bed is going to set, and it will usually set under the prongs of the manifold. If you go too high, you're going to have it above the wort line inside, and the whole point of it is to eliminate any sort of splashing going on during recirculation. So it goes without saying that my valve setup is a little bit unconventional. So I've included this graphic on the screen of a Brewtools bottom valve where you would want your center valve to be at around the 4 o'clock position so you can balance the flow. So 40 minutes into our mash, we can check on it here a bit and see that the grain bed has set under the manifold, and we just have the edges sticking up out of the top here now. And if you take note of the whirlpool happening around the basket. Now, as we approach the end of the mash, I'm going to set my mash out temperatures. I usually mash out at 77 degrees Celsius. And with this comes the clarity that these systems are so good at producing. With mash out temperatures reached, it's time to remove the grain. it's important to remember to remove the mash temperature probe as well as to turn off the heating elements. The process of pulling the basket up can pull enough of the wort out that they can potentially run dry and scorch a little bit. I like to raise the basket as slowly as I can, just until I break the surface tension and the wort starts to trickle out. Eventually, you just have to get it up there, and splashing is inevitable, but I like to try to cut it down as much as possible. It's at this point where you would start your sparging process. Since this is a raw beer, I won't be doing that, but I'll demonstrate it here by recirculating from the wort that's under in the kettle.